and happy Wednesday. Will and Andy here from Nutshell. We will get started in just a few minutes. Give a minute or two for some stragglers to hop on.
Love the shirt, Will.
Thank you very much. I always like to represent the brand.
If you could get some nutshell sweaters for us, that would make it a little easier for me. Yeah.
I can see what we have in the swag store.
All right.
Any customers on the call that are interested in the Nutshell sweater, maybe we'll have a giveaway in the near future.
The LL Bean collaboration.
Well, I think we've vamped enough. Ryan would like a sweater. Ryan, I'll keep you on my short list. So thank you for attending the final marketing-led webinar of the year. Yes, we're almost done with 2025 so far, but don't worry, we'll be back in 2026. Rehashing an old topic, we launched Nutshell Chat in the very beginning of 2025. We've added some iterations, and we've launched a few more features, one just including yesterday, to make chat even better for our customers. And just as a reminder, before we dive into everything and the housekeeping and everything, Nutshell Chat is a free feature for all Nutshell customers. Doesn't matter what CRM tier you have, if you're on Foundation or Enterprise or anywhere in between, Nutshell Chat, AI Chatbot, and all of its features are available for you with no limits. I am correct in saying all that, Andy, correct?
That is correct.
All right, so we're going to dive into how you can drive more conversions with Nutshell Chat's engagement bar, which is one of the 3 new features launched within the last week. Before we get into that, if you have to leave at some point in time, can't get to the end, or hey, you never hopped on this call in the beginning and you're watching the recording, you should get a recording sent to your inbox. If you don't get that, check your spam box. It should be coming from Demio, our webinar platform. If you don't see it there, you might have unsubscribed from Demio's emails. I get it. They send a lot. You can always head to our website, go to our webinars and guided tours page, and we try to upload these to there within 2 to 3 days. It's also going to be on our YouTube channel. While you're on YouTube, feel free to subscribe to us so you can see all of our updates as we publish them live. What we'll cover today, we'll go over customizing Nutshell Chat and customizing your AI chatbot. That's going to be a little bit of review since we have had those webinars over the year 2025. Then we're going to go over in depth 3 of our new features. One's not even on the agenda here. Our smart nudges, our engagement bar, and our brand new engagement report that just went live yesterday. And of course, how to customize your engagement bar as well. And then we'll have a little bit of Q&A at the end. We do encourage you to ask your questions throughout the presentation into the chat. If I'm not talking or if Andy's not talking, we will try to communicate and answer the questions live there. If not, we'll have 5 to 10 minutes at the end of the webcast today to get through some of your questions. So at any point in time you got a question, throw it in the chat, please. So why does chat matter? Why do you want website chat on your website? How does it help drive conversions? Customers are 2.4 more likely to stick with a brand when their problems are solved quickly. So that might be a not customer yet asking a question about sales or wanting to become a new customer, or a current customer trying to find information quickly. If you can answer those questions faster, they're 2.4 times more likely to remain a customer. So, and your website has just seconds to capture attention from your website visitors. As the leader of our marketing team, I know this all too well. It's very hard to get people to convert and give them your information and sign up for a trial. So people want to have clear answers, super fast, and clear next steps of what they can do. And chat can help them do that. If they're not going to find that, they might leave your site for another competitor. We witness it all the time. People coming to our website, not finding what they need right away because we're not doing a good enough job on the marketing team. They go find another CRM site. Hopefully it happens to them too, and they come back to nutshell.com and find what they need, because we do have our chatbot live after all. How can Nutshell help with that? How can Nutshell Chat help with that? It's going to boost engagement by starting real conversations with your website visitors. So it's there. It can be left kind of to its own devices. People can minimize it if they need to, but people are able to start that conversation super quickly. You can increase conversions, and we're going to talk about how the engagement bar can help with that by guiding people to the right actions, whether that's to call your business, fill out a contact form, email your support team or your sales team, whatever it is there, or even get a quick quote. It will improve response times, of course, especially if you're using the AI chatbot. You can get instant answers. I do highly encourage you to check it out on our own website. We're going to run through it actually today. Andy's going to do a little bit of a live demo here. And then it can strengthen your pipeline. We've noticed it firsthand at Nutshell. We like to eat our own dog food before we drink our own champagne. We have started to drive quite a bit of leads through our web chat, whether that's for people booking a contact form, booking a demo with a sales rep, or just asking questions of our AI chatbot so we can then follow up to see if those customers or potential customers want to create a trial and actually have a full-on demo with one of our sales reps. So with that being said, I'm going to hand the reins over to Andy and stop sharing my screen. And Andy's going to run us through what chat looks like to the actual customer, and then also going through the back end and what all the rubber bands and paper clips look like in setting up your own web chat.
Awesome. Well, yeah, thanks, Will. And quick introduction, Andy Fowler, co-founder here at Nutshell. And yeah, we're excited to be sharing more about Nutshell Chat, as well as the new capabilities, the smart nudges, and the engagement bar today. And like Will said, we launched Chat earlier this year and saw a lot of great uptake from that. And what we learned as we went was, Chat is really just a means to an end. Ultimately, your website is a tool to generate leads. And I got my career started just building websites for local businesses. And I remember we kind of phrased these in sort of two perspectives. There's business goals for a website, and then there's user goals. So your users, your visitors come to your site looking for information about your company. They have a need. They're trying to do some research, and you have goals for your website, which for the most of us out here is taking those visitors and turning them into sales. So the chatbot, the engagement bar, this is kind of where those two things meet. Helping answer questions for your visitors to accomplish the goal that you have of turning them into leads. And we think that the great thing about AI and chatbots is that they're kind of the perfect tool for the job here. And I hope you'll agree. So we're going to just show off a couple of examples of how this looks. I'm just doing this live on nutshell.com. So if you don't feel like watching my screen, you can just go to nutshell.com and kick the tires for yourself. But if you go to Nutshell, you'll see our homepage here. It describes our product, but we've included our chatbot at the bottom right here. And I just want to sort of start by walking through a couple of capabilities that you're seeing in here. First, these sort of orange conversation starters, or what we call smart nudges, are really meant to kind of prompt a conversation from your visitors. And what's great about these is these are automatically created by the Nutshell chatbot based on the current page that a visitor is on. So here on our homepage, they are kind of asking some questions and starting some conversations that most people coming to Nutshell might ask, right? How do I start a trial? What pricing plans are available? What makes Nutshell different? But if I go to a different page, let's say I go to Nutshell's Google integration that describes how our product fits with Google, the questions that the chatbot suggests are kind of more tuned about how does Nutshell sync with Google Calendar. Maybe I go to a page that describes our specific sort of capabilities for manufacturing customers, manufacturing businesses. And you can see here that the nudges sort of are tuned based on the content of the current page. And all of that, all of the sort of copywriting of these smart nudges happens automatically by the Nutshell chatbot. It crawls your site. It comes up with questions that it thinks will sort of capture the attention of your visitors and makes them available on the page. We'll show you how you set that up in just a second, but to give you a little bit more on the of the sort of experience of a visitor on your site, you'll also see that in addition to the smart nudges, we could kind of have this generic, what we call just the conversation starter box, right? So this is where someone could just begin a chat with your team or begin a chat with your chatbot and get started with their own questions. And then what we also see at the bottom here is our new engagement bar. So in addition to encouraging chat conversations with our site, we found a lot of people coming to Nutshell just want to book a demo. And so a visitor to the site can click the demo option here and actually immediately launch into the Nutshell scheduler capability where they can choose a date matching to the availability of our sales team and book a meeting with our sales team without leaving this chatbot directly from our site and in fact from anywhere on the Nutshell website. Or of course, if they want to have a chat conversation, they can have those here. So I'm going to switch gears over here and we're going to sort of ask a basic question. Let's see, what makes Nutshell better than other CRMs? many of our visitors have this question. And you'll see that the chatbot steps in here with an answer here. And as it's thinking along, the next thing that it's going to do is, okay, we've got Nutshell stands apart by offering a user-friendly, intuitive interface combined with powerful automation. I'll let you read that for yourselves. So someone continues to have a conversation with our chatbot here. How can I get started? And what happens next is the chatbot shifts into what we call the intake form. So once it answers the question initially, it will collect information about the visitor, and you're in the driver's seat of what information is collected here. So in this case, we're collecting the name and email address of visitors to our site, and then those, of course, are created as leads that our sales team can follow up on. So that's a little bit of the experience from the visitor's perspective of the engagement bar. It's both a chatbot experience, but it also works with phone calls and text messages, as well as Nutshell Scheduler. We're going to show you a little bit more about how you set that up. But that's how it works for our own usage of this. And with that, I'm going to stop my screen share and then hand that back to Will.
Thank you, Andy. Yeah, like I've said, and Andy kind of hinted at too, we have been seeing a lot of success of having that chat on our website, and it is really cool about how the AI chatbot learns from page to page to come up with the right prompts that's going to prompt someone to actually engage with your chatbot on the website. Really awesome there. So it's really easy to customize your chat widget. I believe we're going to hop in a second and show you how to do this on the back end, but really easy to choose your brand colors, the layout that you want, being able to preview it super quickly without actually having to put it on your website right away. Also super easy to install with our Nutshell snippet. And then it syncs perfectly. Andy already showed you the scheduler in our own. You can also have forms in there, and you can also sync it up to create leads in certain pipelines. So Andy, I think I vamped enough to give you some time to get into our account.
Yeah, that sounds great. I'm going to start another screen share here again. And now what we're going to take a look at is for you as a Nutshell customer, how do you set up Chatbot? How do you set up smart nudges? How do you set up the engagement bar to put your website to work for you? So I'm looking here. I'm in the engagement section of Nutshell. And in this account, I'm just in sort of a brand new account. It hasn't ever been set up before. I'm just going to sort of walk you through how quickly you can train the bot and set up the engagement bar. So here under the engagement section, under the dashboard, you can just hit this big try the Nutshell chatbot on your website. And I'm going to provide my website here. In this case, I'm going to use, I'm not going to use ourselves as an example. This is actually a local flying club that I'm familiar with here. And they've got a website. And let's say that they are looking to collect more leads. To collect more potential flight students. And this is how they would go about setting up a bot with Nutshell. So all I've done is provide the URL. What Nutshell has done is gone out and crawled the website, understands what this website has to offer, what kind of content is available, how they might be collecting leads, what questions visitors might have. And now it's offered a preview of the chatbot on the website. So this is the Flying Club's website. And what we're seeing is sort of a preview from Nutshell of what the Nutshell chatbot might do for the Michigan Flyers here. And it's already suggested some smart nudges here, which is how can I join? What kind of upcoming events are there? What flight training programs are available? All of these are very common questions that visitors to this site have to ask. So that was the only configuration that I needed to do to sort of get a preview of the Nutshell chatbot. So we're going to continue on here. If I were just ready to deploy this on my website, we're not going to go too deep into the weeds of how you do that. But if you use WordPress, the Nutshell WordPress extension is a great way to get that started. Otherwise, if you're familiar with just sort of adding a JavaScript snippet to your site, it's a simple matter of copying and pasting that and doing the rest from there. So I just went through sort of training the chatbot on the site. Now we're going to take a look at how I can use smart nudges and how I can use the engagement bar. So what you'll see here, first, this is my sort of preview of the engagement bar on my website. We're sort of suggesting by default that this website use chat and email to collect leads. But let's say that we actually prefer to hear from our visitors with a phone call. So I'm going to add a phone call as an option on here. I guess I'll turn off email. And just for the sake of this demo, I'm going to add a quote option as well. So all of these actions, as you can see, sort of appear in the engagement bar, and you as the website administrator can configure which actions you think are going to be most effective to generate leads and how you think your visitors want to communicate with you. So in this case, we've built a chatbot that has the chat action, the call action, and the quote action. Just to show a little bit more of how the smart nudges work here and really how simple these are. Further down the page here, I can control whether I want those smart nudges on or off. So without them, this is what the chatbot looks like. It just kind of collapsed, neatly folds into the bottom right corner of your site. And if I turn it on, it poses those sort of customized per page nudges to start conversations. And by the way, we default to only showing those on a desktop screen. So if someone opens up the website on a mobile screen, you've kind of got limited real estate to work with. So we're only going to show the engagement bar and the conversation starter, but you can configure that for yourself. Okay, so that's sort of the outside in. How do you choose which actions are available on your engagement bar? Let's look at how you set up those individual actions here. So I said, let's say we want to collect phone calls here. The way that phone calls work is first, we present a form for your visitors to schedule a call from you. So they would provide their name, their phone number, maybe a preferred time for a return call. And then you're going to receive a lead and a form submission that says, you've received a request for a callback. And that all works with just a normal Nutshell form, which I can choose to edit and choose exactly sort of how I want, what kind of information I want to collect for that callback. By default, this is what that form is going to include. If I want to make it even simpler for prospects to call me, and I don't care about collecting, say, email address or anything like that, and I just say I'm happy with a phone call to our 800 number, I can provide a in this case, this is Nutshell's phone number here. Put the dashes in too to make it look nice. Now I've provided a phone number. So if someone taps the call action, they can just immediately call us and see that call to action from any page. Okay, so we also added a quote button, a quote action to our engagement bar. And I want to show you a little bit more about how that works and how the engagement bar fits with Nutshell forms. So quote is kind of just a generic action here that you might be a business that offers quotes as part of your sales process. Remember, we're a flying club here, so we're going to say flight. And so this is for someone who might want to book a flight and see if they want to become a pilot. And so we can customize that action, how it appears in the engagement bar. And then we have a form. And again, this is just a standard Nutshell form. You can collect all of the same sort of fields and custom fields and options that exist in any other form in Nutshell, but it's embedded into the chat experience, embedded into that engagement bar. So if I wanted to, in addition to collecting name, email address, and what I like a quote on, in this case, I might say, what is your flight experience? And by customizing this form, I've now modified the engagement bar so that it is collecting discovery flights and booking them through this form here. All right. So what we've done here, we've looked at the various actions that are possible on the engagement bar. In this case, we've got chat, call, and flight. You've seen how you can configure those actions. Something I'm not going to dive into on this demo, but just want to mention is that, like you saw on our website, you can also use Nutshell Scheduler with the engagement bar. In this case, Nutshell integrates with your calendar, Office 365 or Google. It understands your team's availability, and it presents a booking calendar that shows the exact moments that your team is available and lets your visitors reserve time there. I'm not going to go through all the sort of background on how you set that up, but it's deeply integrated with the engagement bar here, as you saw on Nutshell.com, and that's the booking action here. Just a quick recap on the rest of what's possible with the chat widget here. You can control other sort of basics like the color of the sort of theme, icons that are available, and some of the other copy that's shown to your visitors here. And then, like I mentioned earlier, this all worked sort of just out of the box. All I had to do was provide my website, and Nutshell went and crawled all of the pages that it felt would be relevant. And here's where I can sort of confirm what actually happened here. So I can see here that the Nutshell chatbot has been trained on these various pages of the website, maybe I have an additional PDF that I often give to newcomers, a brochure, or maybe a price sheet that I also want the bot to control. I can also upload a PDF or maybe tell it about a specific web page that is really relevant to answer a lot of questions here. So you can add knowledge to the chatbot to better answer questions for your visitors. And then finally, here's where I control how the chatbot works. I'm going to turn it on here, but I can control, sort of the overall tone, how I want this to match the brand of my organization. In this case, it's a sort of a social club, so I want this to be sort of a friendly tone. And for the sake of these conversations, I want them to be concise and just to get to the point here. And then finally, we cover this a little bit in more detail in our first chatbot webcast, so I'm not going to dive into it deeper here. But if you sort of have topics that you want to promote or topics that you want to avoid, you can provide those to the chatbot here. So I could say that topics to avoid, I could just say, don't discuss other competitive flight training organizations, because we don't want the chatbot to sort of provide any bad information on a competitor, and that just might not be something that we want to wade into here. And then likewise, I could offer topics to promote. Maybe I have a sort of a pricing special or something like that. You can include those suggestions, and the bot will take that into consideration with every conversation it has. You can just provide sort of plain English topics here, and the bot will respond to those. All right, I think that covers sort of the broad strokes of what we want to configure on, of how we configure the chatbot. Like I said earlier, from here, it's a simple matter of embedding the snippet on our website. And then finally, I can turn it on and off here. You have control, so if you've embedded it on your website, but you want to turn it off for some reason, you can always do that with this on and off switch here. And one other item I wanted to show off as you're sort of thinking about putting together a chatbot like this, and maybe you want to share it with others on your team, maybe you want to get some executive approval on this, I can generate a preview of this chatbot that I can share with others on my team before I take this live. So if I copy this link and just open this up in a new tab here, this link can be sent to maybe a colleague of mine that I say, hey, I'm considering launching the Nutshell chatbot on our site. What do you think of it? Kick the tires, ask it some questions. And that's what this link does. So this link is available for me, and I can use that to sort of preview it before we actually put the chatbot to work. This chat widget down here is fully interactive. I can ask it questions. How much does it cost to learn to fly? And see how it is going to answer and respond. And I can confirm that this all looks like before I hit publish on my site. And I think that is where I want to pause. And we're going to talk about, I'm going to hand the screen share back to Will, and then we're going to talk about how do you measure this. So we've talked about how do we deploy the chatbot? What does it look like? Let's talk about how we measure it once I switch some screen shares here.
Actually, would you mind putting that screen share back on? RJ wanted to see where that link was again, so if you could just highlight that, and then we have another relevant question before we move on to.
Exactly. I think you mean the preview link, Will?
Yes, the preview link to share.
Yep. So right now I'm inside of engagement setup under chat. So this is where the entire chat configuration is. And the preview link is up here at the top. And I can either copy a link that I can share with my team members, or I can just hit the test chatbot myself and immediately have that test experience here. That's at the top right of the page.
Sweet. RJ got what he needed there. And then another relevant question just before we move on to the reporting side of this. Peter asked, what if I want chats to get routed to a live agent?
Yes, that's a great question. And in fact, Nutshell built chat for humans before it built the chatbot. So I kind of glossed over that on the chatbot behavior side here. But that is, you're in control of that in this tab of chat settings. So right now I have the chatbot set to always respond, but I could turn it off entirely, in which case this is only going to respond when my team is online. And down here is sort of where I have some controls around who do those chats go to? Do I want to assign them to a specific person, route them amongst a particular team? And then what happens when my team is offline? And I can choose whether there's a form that's provided or whether we just kind of provide a message which apologizes for our team being away. Or you can turn off chat altogether, in which case the only time the engagement bar will even show up on your website is when someone is online in Nutshell and able to handle conversations live.
Sweet. Andy, I appreciate you going back and answering those 2 questions on the fly. I will take over again while you prepare your next slides. So all of the information Andy just went over, we do have a full knowledge base full of articles that you can go kind of in depth line by line. We also have this PDF that should be emailed out to you in the Demio email as well. It'll also be available to download on our website in a couple of days. We can kind of go through and get some of the high level tidbits that can help you walk through on your own as well. But like I said, we always have the individual knowledge base articles to help out with that as well. So Andy, I'll toss it back over to you.
All right, sounds great. And this last item was kind of a bonus add-on to the webcast here, because our team literally just launched this report yesterday. Like we said at the start of it, the entire point of the Nutshell chat and the engagement bar is to help take your visitors and turn them into prospects and ultimately sales. And so we want to give you tools that understand how the chatbot is performing here and give you ideas on how you can do that better. So from the reports section of Nutshell, I'm looking at our new engagement report. And so this is going to look somewhat familiar if you've used other reports in Nutshell, but we sort of designed this to look just like a funnel. Think of this at the top, and of course, I'm just sort of picking a time period here, the last week or so. First, we show, okay, how many visitors came to your website in that period? And then what percentage of those turned into opens of the Nutshell engagement bar, right? They actually clicked on a smart nudge or popped open the scheduler. They sort of opened it and engaged with it in some way. Then we look at the conversion rate of how many of those opens turned into actual interactions, chats where we collected name and email address, or bookings through scheduler, or if you're using things like calls or emails or text, how many of those actions did you receive? And then of course from there, how many of those actions turned into prospects, and how many of those prospects end up being closed won. So that's sort of the bird's eye view of how this looks on an engagement report here. In fact, I'll also say you can even then click in and see which leads specifically came from the engagement bar, and that works with Nutshell's existing lead reporting. And just to go a little bit further down the page here to show you what's sort of available to you, not only can you kind of see this in a funnel view, but you can sort of measure this over time. So here I'm looking at the last week of website traffic. I start with what my traffic looks like over time. I look at how do my chat widgets opens look like over time, the actions that happened by day, and which actions are occurring, right? You can see here for the most part, these are chat actions, but a handful of bookings mixed in as well. This is the lead chart, and then ultimately when those leads are marked won, turning into sales. Last 2 things I just want to do here while we've got a screen share going is point out 2 things. There's a little bit of a walkthrough that adds some more explanation on how we calculate these metrics. That's available on the right side of the screen. And I also want to showcase this. This is something that we're doing in a number of places throughout Nutshell, trying to get more feedback from our customers on how we can do better, what they love, what they'd like to see different in this. So if you have feedback on this engagement report, take a look at this. Tell us what you think, icon at the top. I read every one of these. Our product team reads every one of these. Share your feedback. We'd love to hear it. And that's the brand new engagement report powered by Nutshell Chat and the engagement bar. That is
busy chatting back in the Demio chat there.
No problem. Back to you, Will.
Certainly. So I'm going to share the presentation here just to finish this up. So like I said, this presentation should be sent out via PDF in the Demio email that you get on. It will also be on the website in the next couple of days. Just to recover what we covered at the very beginning, Nutshell Chat is available on all CRM plans. Early access offers limited use. And then, of course, Andy was just going through our engagement report that launched today. And I believe that's going to take us to and some additional resources here as well. These links will take you to our knowledge base, so you can read those articles there. They'll be like comprehensive line by line, very similar to Andy just walking you through how to set those up, except you can do it on your own there and on your own time. And then now we're going to get to some Q&A. I do have some Q&A or questions that I did type down here. First one here from Gabriel: can I implement native integration with my company's WhatsApp? I already have an AI agent that operates on WhatsApp Business, but through an unofficial API. If this option has an integration, I would choose to use it. So do we have that integration? Because Gabriel's wanting to know if he can replace his current solution.
The short answer is not yet. So Nutshell does have a native WhatsApp integration where when you receive WhatsApp messages to your business profile, you can respond to those messages through Nutshell, and you can record those conversations and, of course, turn those into leads. So if someone messages your business, they want a quote on lawn care, you see that in Nutshell, you can respond to them and turn it into a lead. Very seamless. What we don't have is any connection to bots. And part of that is Facebook Meta is being very cautious about opening up WhatsApp to bots. And the last time we investigated that, it actually wasn't possible to sort of provide a bot experience there. Be interested more in this unofficial API and whether that's something that we could take advantage of. At the moment, it doesn't appear to be possible, but we'll be watching it closely. Right now, our WhatsApp integration, unfortunately, only works for sort of human-to-human conversations. But of course, as you can imagine, the difference between a website chat and a WhatsApp chat from a technical perspective is very small, and we'd love to be able to offer that.
So thanks for the in-depth answer there. This one is from Katie. And Katie, I'm going to make some assumptions. I assume you might have Engagement Pro, which unlocks our WhatsApp, Facebook Messenger, Instagram DMs, and one-to-one SMS features. But your question was, can you also talk about assign licenses when I first go there? So I think that's just like assigning which users have access to the engagement suite. So I think leading with my assumption, I think, Andy, you can do a good job of walking us through what that looks like.
Yeah, I think that's right. And I think I'd actually ask Katie if you can just follow up offline with a screenshot of what you're seeing there, because that I think that Will's right, that's probably because you are a subscriber to Engagement Pro, and only certain Nutshell users will have access to the engagement suite because you have SMS and WhatsApp in there. If you are just on Engagement Foundation, I don't think that you should see anything about licenses. So if you could follow up with us and you can shoot me a neat email to andy@nutshell.com. We'll make sure that that's sorted out there.
Cool. Thank you, Andy. Another question from Gabriel. Will this support other languages or only English? And I think I remembered an internal Slack conversation where it can crawl the website in the language that the website is, but doesn't respond in said language. Is that still the case, Andy?
Yeah, I think this is a coming soon. Not sure exactly how soon. I think probably everyone realizes here that Nutshell is standing on the shoulders of giants. We are using language models from OpenAI and Anthropic to power these conversations. We bring in the capabilities of crawling your website and using your content and pulling it into leads. And so we're able to rely on that terrific technology from those frontier models. And so as they provide that capability to map to different languages, we'll be rolling that out. Of course, we can detect what language your visitors are speaking. It's just a matter of making sure we can put the right content in the knowledge section of Nutshell Chat. So coming soon there.
Cool. Andy, one of the next questions might call for another screen share here, but first one from Katie: will Nutshell then automatically create a person and a lead in the Nutshell account based upon this engagement in the chat? Short answer is yes. The lead portion, I think, is worth a little bit more of an explanation. This is something we were exploring on our own chat internally here as well. So actually, I'll turn it over to you, Andy, if you want to answer the rest of that question. We'll jump to the next question here.
Yes, that's right. And you're in the driver's seat of which of those conversations you want to turn into leads. Our probably suggestion is any chat, any phone call, any sort of interaction is probably worth creating a lead in Nutshell and having a member of your sales team follow up. You might decide that you actually get a number of questions to your chatbot and you don't want to bother following up with all of those, and you could turn off lead creation. But the short answer is yes. In the chat setup, you have the ability to choose whether or not to create leads for every message that comes in, or to turn that off. You can even choose to route them, as would make sense, to a specific pipeline, which might be a different priority for your sales team. Maybe you have a specific pipeline just for chat-based leads. And yes, Nutshell will create a person, or if that person is someone you've already interacted with and you already have them in your CRM, it will map them based on their email address. So if someone's sort of repeat conversation or one of your long-term customers, it'll reuse the profile there. And of course, when that lead is created in Nutshell, you will see the conversation that the visitor had with the chatbot. Hopefully they got a great answer and your sales sales team can pick up where the conversation left off and continue the follow-up that way. But yes, leads are created and you'll have a record of the conversation they had with the chatbot. Or of course, they might just, instead of having a chat conversation, they might have just booked some time with you using Nutshell Scheduler, in which case you're going to have a lead associated with that booked meeting as well.
Thank you, Andy. And last question we have here from Peter: how does it filter out spam and other bots? They saw the spam setting in admin. Before I hand it over to you, I would just like to say, like Andy mentioned earlier, that you can control what information you want your chatbot to intake during that intake flow. I think the three options that you can turn on are name, email, and phone number. For nutshell.com specifically, we ask for name and email. I would highly recommend at least having two of those items on, or maybe even all three for email and phone, just because people can enter whatever they want in there, and that's why we're getting into the spam question. But having more of a little bit of friction can prevent some of that spam from getting into your CRM as well. So I'll turn it over to you on that, Andy.
Yeah, no, I think that's right. And yeah, again, you're in the driver's seat, so it depends on the quality of the traffic that you typically see. I think the person asking the question is thinking of it right. This is chat is sort of a logical successor to forms on your website, right? 5 years ago, the expectation was you'd go to a website. If you had a question, you would fill out a form, you'd hit submit, and maybe a day later you get a phone call, or maybe if they're on the ball, you get an email an hour later. Chat is just sort of the acceleration of that. And we all know that speed to lead is a really big factor in a successful sales process. So chat is ultimately I think we see it as sort of a successor to forms. In terms of the kind of spam that you'll see, we see less of it just because the bots that are out there are a little bit more tuned into the older forms than they are chat experiences, but that will change. We already have employed our sort of transparent CAPTCHA technology to the chatbot experience that filters out many of those. But it will be something that we'll be watching closely to see if we can keep that to a minimum there.
And Andy, just to build on that question about like what we intake here, Christian came in with, do we plan on adding more information that we want the form intake to collect? Company name being the specific one mentioned by Christian.
Yes, I think that's likely something we will add to that. We call that the intake form that Christian asked about there. And yeah, I think it's adding company name is a logical thing to make that grow. I'm gonna, since we're kind of in the Q&A mode here and talking a little bit about the specifics of how chat and forms interact here, just to give a little bit of a peek of something that's coming down the road here for improving that intake experience. If you go to Nutshell and click one of the smart nudges and maybe ask the bot a question, you'll see that the bot gives you an answer. And then when you respond again, then it asks for your information. So there's kind of a balancing act that we see of how quickly do you allow the chat bot to respond and just be a helpful information provider versus pressing the issue and collecting that intake form. We're actually going to add that as a configuration option to the chatbot. So you can choose how much you allow the bot to respond before it prompts for that intake form. You might want to say, we're not going to give any information from the bot until we collect name and email address. Or you might say, we think it's actually better to sort of provide some value to our visitors before we ask for some information from them. That's going to be sort of dependent on your business and the type of visitors you have. That's something that is going to be added as relates to that intake form. And I think we'll likely add company form to that as well.
Sweet.
Company name.
And then I'm going to finish off here. Gabriel just pointed out I guess an experience not had yet, but just a little bit of caution of wanting to use the chat just because they have a lot of paid traffic that comes to landing pages that have forms on them. My recommendation here, and Andy covered it earlier on, there is a setting that you can prevent or disable chat from showing up on a URL. So Gabriel, I don't know if you saw my chat back, but there is an option to add any URL that you do not want chat to show up on. So even if it's just your contact page and you want people to fill out the form or call the phone number that's on there, you don't want them being distracted by multiple call to actions, you can add your example.com/contact page to the disabled URLs from chat showing up on. So therefore your website visitors have one thing to do and they're solely focused on that. So that's like, I actually think that option didn't exist and I made a complaint and then it existed about 30 minutes later inside the app. So I think that's I think I have some pull around here to make some of that stuff happen.
Well, you've caught me flat-footed, Will. I can't remember if that's a feature we only built for Nutshell or if that's available to customers. But if it's only for us, it'll be available for customers by the end of the day. Now, yeah, no, that totally makes sense. In our case, also, right? We have a login page. We didn't want the chatbot to appear on a login page. So yes, you'll be able to control, if not already, by the end of the day, we'll turn that on for everybody. Pages where you just want the engagement bar to be entirely hidden.
You just witnessed a little bit of strong arming of me and Andy right there. And Andy, I wonder, before we wrap up here, I wonder if I can strong arm you into showing off one more thing before we finish here. Kudos to the 22 people that stayed on to keep with us here. We do have some other recent releases that have come out. MCP server integration, task report product categories, our Microsoft Teams integration, draft pipelines, new phone integrations as well. One-click calling, automatic call logging, transcription, summarization, just like our Zoom, Google Meets, Microsoft Teams, and Click-to-Call now available in Nutshell, those 4 names you see there. But really what I want to strong arm Andy into showing off, and maybe we can get it today, is one of our upcoming releases, which is now launched as well, is our AI email campaign creator. Can I strong arm you to show this? Or
why the heck not? What could go wrong? I hope our engineers aren't watching this. I was going to show something else here. So, while it feels like it's 5 o'clock somewhere, it's only 3:40 here in Ann Arbor. But we're just sharing everything that's on the way. First, Will asked about a new AI capability that we just launched today, which is making it a whole lot easier for you to build an email marketing broadcast. In addition to that, we are, if you've noticed, I'm sure you have, Nutshell's been exploring a lot of AI capabilities like most other software companies, and we're really excited about how this technology can save time for our customers. And so far we've kind of been introducing this in various pockets inside of Nutshell. Maybe there's a pocket here in the chatbot or a pocket inside of a lead researcher. We're introducing a page that will be launching tomorrow that sort of pulls all of those AI capabilities into one place, helps you understand what is possible in Nutshell, what are the tools that we've rolled out, how can you put them to use, so that is coming here soon. And why don't we take a look at the one-click Nutshell AI email marketing designer. So from marketing, you go to broadcast, like you're going to be building a new email marketing campaign, but instead of using our great drag and drop email designer, which still has a great place in the world, but if you're trying to put something together quickly, AI is a great tool for this. And so this really just takes 2 inputs. Takes a page from your website that provides the content and the look and feel for this campaign. And it offers you the chance to sort of provide some description of what you're trying to say here. So say I am trying to promote the new Nutshell. Sorry, Will, I'm on the spot trying to find a blog post of ours announcing our new CallRail integration here. Here we go. Go back here. So I'm looking to create an email marketing campaign around this new blog post. I can say, help me tell our customers about the new Nutshell CallRail integration. And you know what? Let's include a few great puns and a link to sign up for a Nutshell trial. Right, so normally I'd be staring at a white page of a email marketing template where I have to get started. What the Nutshell AI email marketing campaign generator does is takes that URL, takes my prompt, and I can't believe I'm doing this live. I don't know. Is this even live for all customers? I don't think that it is.
I believe it went live this morning. If we're lying, it should be out very, very soon. Yeah, the Nutshell AI homepage is not live yet for our customers, but I believe the AI campaign designer is out today.
Yep. Well, we're sitting here watching it. This may fall flat on its face, and we may just have to send the generated marketing campaign to the 20 visitors who are still on this webcast after it's done, because it looks like it's stuck here. Oh, no, look at that. All right, we just got a email marketing campaign All we provided was a URL and a small prompt here. Nutshell went to that page, pulled content, pulled our logo, it pulled our color scheme, pulled in an image about this thing, and it wrote a conversation about the Nutshell call rail integration. Hey, and look at that, call logging that won't leave you hanging. It came up with a couple of puns in there. Dial in better sales conversations. Could you have come up with that one, Will?
I think I did. I came up with a decent one in the demo chat too, I think.
All right, well, that's so you versus ChatGPT here. So that's a quick example of the one-click AI campaign designer. We'd love to hear from our customers on how this works for them. And you're right, it is live as of today.
Very cool. Thank you for letting me to convince you to show that one there as well.
Love it.
RJ had a question there that I think I answered in the chat. Can you amplify it for certain personas? So like basically update the text that's going to be there based upon a certain person you're trying to reach. The knowledge base. Would that be going back to the chatbot, RJ, or still talking about the campaign builder? We have the capability. Okay, we can discuss offline. Thank you, RJ. I will just say one more thing as we're wrapping up here. As Andy was kind of going through, that was our live Nutshell account that Andy was going through. You might have seen a broadcast in there about us sending out a review campaign. We are going to be sending out a review campaign. Your name might be on that list. If it's not on that list and you love using Nutshell, when you're logged into Nutshell, if you click on your name in the upper right-hand corner, your photo, there's a quick little link there that just says leave a review. You can leave a review on G2 in less than 5 minutes by clicking that link. We would be greatly appreciative if you could do that. We don't spend the money to bring in Matthew McConaughey as our brand ambassador. So we really rely on the customers that love and use Nutshell all the time. Maybe use it a little bit less with this AI features that are coming out, Andy. But we would really appreciate that. So if you got the time, if you got 5 minutes and you love using Nutshell, we would really appreciate a review. And if you have additional colleagues that use Nutshell and you can point that out for them, we really appreciate it as well. But I think that's all we have to share today. So thank you for joining us. Thank you for hanging on. Hopefully you enjoy the surprise of the AI campaign designer. If you have any feedback, if you see that banner inside the app, please share that. Our product team does read all the feedback there. And of course, Andy's given out his email, andy@nutshell.com, and I have wgordon@nutshell.com if you have any feedback from the marketing side of things. We're, of course, always happy to talk to our customers. Thank you for joining us today. We will be back in the new year with more marketing-led webinars. I assume our January 1 will go over our H1, if not full year hopes of what our roadmap will be. Andy, as always, thank you for joining me as our co-host, co-founder, and CEO. To that, I wish everyone a happy holidays and wishing everybody some success in 2026.
Thanks, Will. Happy holidays, everybody.
See you, everybody. Happy nutshelling.